Caitlin Clark came into her second WNBA season with a giant target on her back and the weight of the league's spotlight directly on her shoulders. After a record-breaking rookie campaign where she averaged 19.4 points and led the league in assists, the hype around 2025 was enormous. Fans, analysts, and even her opponents were expecting her to take the Fever to new heights. But instead of dominance, the results have been frustratingly inconsistent. The truth is, this roster has some serious weak links. Players whose style, performance, or lack of energy are pulling against the very system Clark thrives in. And if Indiana doesn't address those issues fast, they risk wasting the prime years of one of the most marketable and talented players the league has ever seen. Today, we're breaking down the 5 biggest culprits, counting down from number 5 to the most damaging at number 1. When the Fever signed Sydney Colson on the 5th of February, 2025, the plan seemed simple. Bring in a respected veteran presence to stabilize the locker room and help guide the younger players. On paper, she checked every box: experienced, smart, and vocal off the court. But when it comes to actual production in games, she's been nearly invisible. Across 28 appearances, Colson is averaging just 2.5 points, 0.8 rebounds, and 2 assists in under 11 minutes a night. She's rarely in crunch time lineups, looks hesitant when she does get the ball, and at 35 years old, her pace has slowed to a crawl. For a team built on speed, sharp cuts, and quick ball movement, her slow tempo stalls the offense. Clark thrives alongside guards who can shoot without hesitation, keep the pace high, and make decisive plays. Colson too often dribbles out the shot clock, hesitates on open looks, and delivers passes a beat too late, killing momentum. While she may be a leader off the floor, on the floor, she's taking up minutes that could be fueling the development of young, energetic guards who can actually run with Clark. Brianna Turner's situation is even more frustrating, not just because she's underperforming, but because the expectations for her were sky high. A former first-round pick and once an elite defensive force, Turner built her reputation on hustle, shot blocking, and relentless energy. This season, that version of Turner has completely vanished. In 14 games, she's averaging a shocking 0.4 points, 0.9 rebounds, and 0.2 assists per game, while shooting only 20% from the floor. She's logged barely over 60 total minutes all year, and those numbers aren't just bad, they're historically bad for a forward in this league. Turner should be setting hard screens for Clark, rolling to the basket with purpose, and dominating the glass. Instead, she drifts through possessions, rarely contests shots, and fails to use her size to impose herself on either end of the floor. Her body language signals disengagement, and her defensive communication is almost non-existent. For a team that needs to maximize every single second, Clark is on the court. Turner's minutes feel wasted, offering neither the spark nor the grit that once made her such a valuable piece.
This one is controversial because Kelsey Mitchell is a proven scorer, one of the best the Fever have had in years. Since entering the league in 2018, she's been their go-to bucket getter, and last season she averaged over 18 points per game. Even this year, she's still putting up around 16.6. The problem isn't her ability to score, it's the way she does it and how it fits or doesn't fit. Alongside Caitlin Clark, Clark is now the offensive engine. The ball should flow through her hands, with the rest of the team playing off her elite playmaking. But Mitchell still operates like she's the primary guard, holding the ball too long, over-dribbling, and relying on isolation possessions to find her rhythm. When Clark runs the offense, the Fever look dangerous. The ball moves, the floor opens, and the tempo stays high. But when Mitchell takes over, the spacing shrinks, the pace slows, and the flow dies. Defenses know the script: sag off, force her into tough shots late in the clock, and disrupt the team's rhythm. She can hit those shots, but they're rarely the ones this offense actually needs, and the clash isn't just on offense. Mitchell doesn't thrive off the ball and isn't the kind of catch-and-shoot threat who can stretch defenses for Clark. On the other end, she's still below average defensively, which makes her a target for opposing guards. That forces Clark to pick up the slack, adding more strain, something Indiana can't afford after her groin injury in July. Then there's the looming contract situation. Mitchell's heading into unrestricted free agency and reportedly wants a max deal. But when your franchise is built around Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston, you have to surround them with players who fit defenders, sharpshooters, and unselfish role players. Mitchell is still trying to be the alpha, and that just doesn't fit with what the Fever need now. When Indiana signed DeWanna Dantas in 2024, the blueprint was clear: bring in toughness in the paint, rebounding power, and some floor spacing to keep the offense open for Clark and Boston. But here in 2025, the production just hasn't matched the resume. She's averaging only 5 points and 2.4 rebounds per game while shooting under 38% from the field. Far too low for a forward whose job is to finish inside and stretch the floor. Her rotations on defense are slow, her transition defense is sluggish, and in crunch time, she tends to fade into the background. Clark's game depends on spacing and quick decision-making. When she drives and collapses the defense, she needs teammates ready to shoot instantly. Dantas hesitates, and that half-second delay kills the rhythm and momentum of a possession. Defensively, it's more of the same. The modern WNBA demands power forwards who can switch onto guards, close out quickly on shooters, and protect the rim. Dantas struggles with all three. Her heavy feet, late closeouts, and quiet communication create gaps that Clark often ends up covering, adding more to her already heavy workload. Dantas isn't toxic in the drama sense, she's toxic in the passive sense, a veteran holding valuable minutes while younger, hungrier players watch from the bench. And when you're trying to maximize a championship window with Caitlin Clark, you simply can't afford to carry passengers. While some players have been holding the Fever back, there are a few who perfectly complement Caitlin Clark's game, and they deserve to be recognized. Lexie Hall is one of those players. She doesn't need the ball in her hands to make an impact. She defends like every possession is personal, chases shooters through screens, and constantly moves without the ball to keep the offense flowing. Sophie Cunningham is another key piece. She's not the team's leading scorer or the flashiest player, but she brings fire, loyalty, and a visible presence on the floor. When she was ejected on March 15th against Connecticut, it wasn't just a bad moment, it was a message. If you go after Clark, you go through her first. Then there's Michaela Onyenwere, who is still developing but has shown real promise. In just 14 minutes a game, she's putting up double-digit scoring nights, crashing the boards, and running the floor like every possession could be her last. That kind of energy is exactly what Indiana needs to surround Clark with. Even Chloe Bibby, here on a short-term deal, has brought valuable spacing and hustle. She may not be a guaranteed long-term piece, but her versatility and ability to stretch the floor create the kind of space Clark needs to dismantle defenses. These players understand their roles, embrace them, and bring the kind of energy that elevates the entire team. Beyond the current core that fits Clark's style, there are a few players who could develop into valuable long-term pieces if the Fever play their cards right. Chloe Bibby is one example. While she's on a short-term deal, her ability to space the floor and knock down open shots already makes her a natural fit in this system. She doesn't need to dominate the ball, she just moves to the right spots, stays ready, and delivers when Clark kicks it out. Then there's Ari McDonald, who's more of a wild card. When Clark was sidelined, McDonald stepped up in a big way, showing she can take on a heavier role. Every minute they play is a minute that could be going to younger, hungrier, and faster players who match Caitlin Clark's tempo. The WNBA is a league where championship windows close fast, and Indiana can't afford to waste even a single season of Clark's prime on veterans whose production doesn't match their paycheck. This isn't about being sentimental or giving players the benefit of the doubt. It's about making cold, calculated decisions that put the Fever in the best position to win. The formula is simple. Surround Clark with players who run the floor with her, protect her body, and elevate her game IQ. That means prioritizing defenders who communicate, shooters who stay ready, and role players who don't need the ball to make an impact. Anything less, and Indiana risks burning through the best years of the most marketable player in women's basketball without ever getting close to a championship. The Fever have everything a rebuilding franchise dreams of: the league's most talked about player, a massive rookie-driven fan base, cap space, and draft picks. But hype isn't the same as winning. If Indiana doesn't make the tough choices now, they risk wasting Caitlin Clark's prime and possibly losing her altogether. The right players are out there, hungry veterans who know their role, deadly spot-up shooters who can punish defenses, and selfless defenders who bring energy every possession. Those players are watching, waiting for the chance to run alongside Clark and build something special in Indianapolis. But the Fever can't get there by clinging to legacy contracts or valuing good vibes over actual production. This is a championship window, and in pro sports, those windows slam shut fast. Clark doesn't need teammates she has to carry. She needs teammates who can carry with her.
That means the front office has to stop wasting roster spots, stop paying for names instead of impact, and start building a roster that matches her speed, intensity, and vision. Because if they get it right, this isn't just a playoff team. It's the kind of contender that can define an era. If you're with me on this, hit that like button, share this with every Fever fan you know, and drop your thoughts in the comments. Who stays and who goes? The clock is ticking.